So that brings us to the close of Upadesa. No doubt the last verse is aham-apetakaṁ, nija-vibhānakam, mahad-idaṁ, tapo, ramaṇa, vāgiyam.
Destruction of the ego, leading to the knowledge of the self, the ultimate self with a capital S, is the greatest tapas, the greatest penance. This is Ramana's saying. Now, just for those who may be interested, this last verse, 30th verse, was not written by Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi. It was written by his great devotee, a Tamil scholar, Sri Muruganar. And Muruganar, in the last word of this couplet, of this verse, he had said, and Ramana is the self. But Bhagwan, because he had no ego and never ever allowed anybody or himself, never paraphrased himself as the realized soul, or never distinguished between him being a different person or a different exalted soul walking on this planet. He just walked around us and with us, amongst us as a human being, dealing with life as a normal householder would deal with, to demonstrate to us an example, an epitome of how to conduct ourselves in the world, being totally unattached from the activities of the world. So Bhagwan changed it, changed the wordings that Muruganar had said in Tamil, that Ramana is the self, and he changed it to Ramana vāgiyam, that this is the saying of Ramana. So here is the last verse.
Destruction of ego leading to the knowledge of the self. Destruction of the ego. No doubt the other day also I used the word destruction, and there was some reflection on it that there should not be, destruction is not the right word. It should be dissipation or assimilation or merging with it. Correct, no doubt. But Bhagwan has used the word destruction twice in Upadesa, and both times he meant destruction, annihilation of the ego, asunder. He says, cut it asunder. The roots should be chopped off of the ego to be merged with the self. So not only in this verse, if you go to verse number, if my memory serves me right, should be 14, where Bhagwan describes utkṛṣṭa yoginaḥ. What is the quality of a realized soul? Yeah, I'm sorry, it was 15. naṣṭa-mānasotkṛṣṭa yoginaḥ, utkṛṣṭa, supreme most being. What is the quality of the supreme most being? Before he started with drishya-varitam, self-inquiry, Bhagwan spent one verse saying, what is the quality of the self-realized? What kind is a self-realized person? naṣṭa-mānasotkṛṣṭa. He has destroyed his mind. Utkṛṣṭa yoginaḥ, that is the quality of the supreme most person, or jiva, or beyond jiva. kṛtyaṁ svasthitiṁ yataḥ. Is there anything else to be done for him? He starts by that to give us the preamble of what a self-realized soul is. Then he describes the attributes of that, to become that. Supreme yogi whose mind is completely controlled or destroyed, does he have anything to do, for he has attained his own nature, the self. That was verse 15. So here's use the word destroy. I just wanted to touch upon it this week. We can always say dissipate, assimilate, no doubt, but Bhagwan was very clear about it, using the word of cutting it asunder.
There are 9 souls in this beautiful gathering.
Okay.
Can you speak to the ripeness of each soul, and if that is predestined, if our ripeness is predestined, and if you can speak to that?
Yeah, I'm not qualified to speak to that, but I will attempt. It's a very good question, because here is the paradox. Here is the dichotomy of the Advaita Vedantic teaching. Dichotomy seen as dichotomy because we are so attached to us not being the realized souls. So even that dichotomy is a misnomer because of the limitation of my not having attained myself. But yet, from the practical standpoint, yes, it is all dependent upon my destiny, my prarabdha, as to what will be my own maturity to absorb these kinds of teachings of clarity, undoubtedly. And yet, for 9 souls that you referred to, or 1% of the population of the world who spends time on these teachings, we are already blessed to at least be exposed to it. Now the onus lies on us, and no doubt even the free will is part of destiny. If we make an effort, that free will or that ripeness will expand a little bit. Because the Lord also is waiting to choose members on his team that he thinks are ripe enough to be drawn forward. That's why it says you take a step and the Lord takes 9 steps towards you. That one step is the free will in that sense that, yes, if I've been exposed to it, let me think a little bit more about it. And we all are doing that. And we should not think I'm not making headway or that I'm stuck with anything. No, we are not. So that's the only way to look at it, that yes, I will continue to do it.
So, having said all that, there's one pertinent thing that we should keep in mind. The thought was genuine, no doubt, that what about the maturity of the other people in the group, spiritual maturity of the people in the group? We should only be focusing, as Bhagavan told us again and again, to focus and only focus on our own devotion, our own practice. The famous expression he used in Tamil was "summaira," that do what you have come here to do, or focus on what your objective is. Don't worry about anything or anybody else. And that's what the real answer to this question is. That the thought as to what is the spiritual maturity of the other people with whom I'm in this pursuit and practice. And it's a very unalloyed, clean, plain, sincere, earnest thought. There's nothing wrong with it. But we should immediately reflect upon what our objective is and only focus on that and not worry about anyone else. The other day, when someone else was describing something in the group, the person started by saying, people do this and people take the self like this. Again, same thing applies there. The moment we begin to think of other or another, we should immediately try and stop our thinking right there and then say, let me just focus on myself. Having said that, one more thing. My own spiritual maturity is something I will not be able to define. Actually, I don't know my own spiritual maturity. We do not know our own spiritual maturity or the depth of our spiritual understanding or clarity. We don't know. And whatever we know, even if we know, it cannot be put in words. We cannot paraphrase it. In fact, when we try to paraphrase it, it sounds very rudimentary. It sounds pedestrian. It doesn't sound like something notable or noticeable or significant enough to be mentioned. So this is what we should focus on. We don't have to worry about, number one, anybody else. Number two, I'm not capable of defining my own depth of understanding, own depth of the absorption of these teachings that I've been practicing on. That's about it. Thank you.
So these are the verses that Bhagavan wrote. The only thing he wrote of his own is Karuna Purna Sudhabde Kabalita Ghana Vishwarupa Kirana Valya Arunachala Paramatman Aruno Bhavachitta Kanja Suvikasaya Tvaya Arunachal Sarvam भूत्वा स्थित्वा प्रलीनमेतच्चित्रम् हृत्यहमित्यात्मतया हृत्यसि भोस्ते वदन्ति हृदयं नाम अहमिति कुत आयाति तन्विष्यान्तः प्रविष्टयात्मलधिया अवगम्य स्वं रूपं शाम्यत्यरुणाचलत्वयि नदीवाप्तो त्वत्या विषयं बाह्यं रुद्धप्राणैरुद्धमनसां सत्त्वां ध्यायन् पश्यति योगी दीधितमरुणाचलत्वयि मयि अन्ते त्वयि अर्पितमनसा स्वं सर्वं तवा कृततया सततं भजते अनन्यप्रीत्या स जयत्यरुणाचल त्वयि सुखे मग्नः श्रीमद्रमण महर्षे दर्शनमरुणाचलस्य देवगिरा पञ्चकुमार्या गीतो रत्नं च दतिजम् औपनिषदम् हि. And the last but not the least, the most wonderfully written shloka on heart by Bhagavan. Hridaya kuhar madhye kevalam brahmamatram aham-apetakaṁ sakshat atmarupena bhati vidhivisha manasa Chinvata machata pavana chalana rodha atmanishto bhavatvam pavana chalana rodha atmanishto bhavatvam atmanishto bhavatvam. Thank you all.
Yeah,
Thank you,
so
Bando.
much.
Yes.
Thank you, Bandaji.
You didn't say anything.
Arunachala.
Arunachala. Arunachala.
Arunachala.
Arunachala.
Arunachala. Arunachala.
Arunachala.
Arunachala.